Don't let them take me. Please. They hurt Miss Claire. There's red everywhere. 5-year-old Emma Whitfield, barefoot, bleeding, wearing a torn nightgown, slammed her bloody hand against the glass door of a highway diner at 3:12 in the morning. Inside, 8 members of the Hells Angels looked up from their coffee. Outside, police sirens screamed closer. The men hunting this child wore badges. The men who would protect her wore leather. What nobody knew yet, the sheriff who murdered her foster mother was running a trafficking ring that reached the lieutenant governor's office, and Emma's backpack held the evidence to destroy them all. If you believe the most dangerous-looking people sometimes fight hardest for innocence, subscribe, watch to the end, and comment your city so I can see how far Emma's story reaches. The diner smelled like burnt coffee and bacon grease. 8 Hells Angels sat in the back booth, exhausted, road-worn, running on fumes and stubbornness after riding 600 miles straight from a children's hospital fundraiser in Nashville. They delivered $47,000 in donations. They'd held babies in the cancer ward. They'd cried in the parking lot where nobody could see them. And then they'd gotten back on their bikes because that's what you do. Jake Shepard Callahan saw her first. He was 58 years old, gray-bearded, 6'3", built like a man who'd spent 3 decades carrying weight that wasn't his to carry. Ex-Marine, 2 Purple Hearts, a silver star he kept in a drawer because the memory of earning it made him sick. His daughter Ellie had died at 6 from leukemia. That was 12 years ago. Every small blonde girl still stopped his heart. He was lifting his coffee when movement caught his eye. A shape at the glass door. Small. Wrong. A child's face pressed against the window, mouth moving, eyes wild with terror. Shepard set down his mug. Maria! Maria, Mama Bear Jensen looked up. She was 52, brown-haired, former Army combat nurse, the kind of woman who could set a broken bone and sing you a lullaby at the same time. She followed Shepard's gaze and her face changed instantly. Oh my God! Shepard was already moving. He reached the door in 4 strides, pushed it open, and the little girl collapsed against his legs. She weighed nothing. She was shaking so hard her teeth chattered despite the Mississippi heat. Blood on her feet, scratches covering her arms, dirt ground into her nightgown. She looked up at him with blue eyes that had seen something no 5-year-old should ever see. Don't let them take me, she whispered. Please, the bad police. They hurt Miss Claire. They hurt her and she's on the floor and there's red everywhere and they're coming. They're coming for me. Shepard dropped to one knee. His hands were the size of dinner plates, scarred from combat and engine work, but he touched her shoulders like she was made of glass. Nobody's taking you anywhere, sweetheart. What's your name? Emma. Emma Whitfield. Miss Claire said I have to run. She said don't stop until I find someone good. Emma's tiny fingers clutched a dirty backpack against her chest. She said this bag is important. She said it can stop the bad men. Mama Bear was beside them now. She unzipped her riding jacket and wrapped it around Emma's shoulders. The jacket swallowed the child whole. Shepard, her feet are torn up. She's been running through brush, miles of it from the look of her. I ran from the house, Emma said, her voice hitching. Through the fields, through the trees. The stickers hurt my feet, but I didn't stop. Miss Claire said don't stop. Who's Miss Claire, honey? Mama Bear asked, pulling Emma gently inside the diner. My foster mama. She takes care of me. She's the nicest person. She makes me pancakes with faces on them. Emma's lip trembled. But the men came, the ones with the stars on their shirts. Deputy Stokes in the other one. They kicked the door and Miss Claire told me to hide and then... She stopped, her whole body locked up, the memory hitting her like a wall. Then what, baby? Mama Bear's voice was soft as cotton. Then the loud noise, the bang, and Miss Claire fell down and didn't get up. The diner went silent. 8 bikers, the cook behind the counter, a waitress named Darlene who'd been pouring coffee for 30 years. All of them frozen, staring at this 5-year-old girl describing murder. Shepard's jaw clenched so tight the muscles in his neck corded. He looked at Tommy Counselor Brennan, the club's legal mind. 45, brown hair, sharp eyes, a former public defender who'd quit the system after watching it chew up one too many kids. Counselor was already on his feet. "Emma," Counselor said carefully, crouching beside her. "You said the men had stars on their shirts. Like police stars? Badges?" Emma nodded. "Deputy Stokes. He came to the house before. Miss Claire didn't like him. She said he asked bad questions about the other kids." "What other kids?" "The ones who stayed with Miss Claire before me, the ones who went away." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Miss Claire said they didn't go where they were supposed to go. She said someone was taking them to a bad place. She was trying to help them." Counselor looked at Shepard. The same thought hit them both at the same time. This wasn't a domestic incident. This wasn't a random act of violence. A foster mother had been murdered for investigating something, and the killers wore badges. "Where do you live, Emma?" Shepard asked. "Tupelo, the house with the blue door. Miss Claire planted flowers." "That's 40 miles from here," Mama Bear said quietly. "This child walked 40 miles. "I didn't walk all of it," Emma said. "I rode in a truck for a while. Miss Claire has a truck in the barn. It was old and dusty. She showed me how to sit in it, and she would drive. But tonight I couldn't reach the pedals, so I just sat in it, and it rolled down the hill. It stopped at the bottom. Then I walked." Shepard closed his eyes. A 5-year-old girl, alone in the Mississippi darkness, running from men with guns who just killed the only person in the world who cared about her. "Earl," Shepard turned to the diner owner, a 71-year-old Korean War veteran with liver spots and steady hands. "You got a back room we can use?" "Got a storeroom, locks from inside. One window faces the back lot." Earl was already moving. "You bring that baby back here. I'll get blankets." "And call 911, Darlene the waitress said, reaching for the phone. "No." Shepard's voice stopped her cold. "Not yet. Not until we know who's on the other end of that call." "Jake, she said police did this." "I heard what she said. And until I know which police are dirty and which ones aren't, we don't trust any of them. You call 911 in Hinds County, and you might be calling the same men who killed her foster mother." Darlene's hand dropped from the phone. The reality of it settled over the room like smoke. Mama Bear carried Emma to the storeroom. The child wouldn't let go of the backpack. She held it against her chest with both arms, the way other children hold stuffed animals. "Can I see what's in your bag, honey?" Mama Bear asked, settling Emma onto a blanket Earl had spread on the floor. Emma shook her head violently. "Miss Claire said only give it to someone I trust. Someone good." "Am I someone good?" Emma studied Mama Bear's face with an intensity that didn't belong to a 5-year-old. She was measuring, deciding. This child had learned to read adults the way soldiers learn to read terrain, because her survival depended on it. "You have nice eyes," Emma said finally. Miss Claire had nice eyes too. She opened the backpack. Inside, a prepaid phone, $400 in 20s, and a USB drive with a piece of tape on it. Someone had written on the tape in careful handwriting, "Everything is here. Give to FBI, not local." Mama Bear's hands trembled as she held the USB drive. She brought it to Counselor, who'd set up his laptop on a diner table. He plugged it in. The files loaded. "Jesus Christ," Counselor whispered. Shepard leaned over his shoulder. "What is it?" "Financial records, bank transfers, shell companies funneling money to..." Counselor scrolled faster. "Judge Robert Kincaid, Hinds County Family Court, $2.3 million over 4 years. Keep going. Transfer documents, foster children, 19 of them, Shepard. 19 kids moved through the system by Judge Kincaid, processed by the Sheriff's Department, all transferred to a facility called Riverbend Academy, owned by a man named Vincent Hale." Counselor looked up, his face ashen. "None of these children appear in any state database after the transfer. They just vanish." They don't vanish, Shepard said, his voice like gravel. They get sold. There's more. Text messages between Deputy Wayne Stokes and Kincaid. Photos of children with different adults. License plates. GPS coordinates for the compound. Counselor closed the laptop slowly. This woman documented a professional child trafficking operation running through the Mississippi foster care system, and they killed her for it. From the storeroom, Emma's voice carried down the hall. She was talking to Mama Bear. Miss Claire called a man before the bad men came. She told him about the papers and the kids. She said she was going to tell the FBI everything. Then the bad men came really fast, like they already knew. Mama Bear appeared in the doorway. She says Claire made a phone call to the FBI field office in Jackson, talked to an agent, Neil Preston, and within the hour, sheriff's deputies showed up and killed her. The implication hung in the air like a live grenade. Preston is the leak, Counselor said. Claire called the FBI for help, and the FBI called the killers. Which means we can't call the FBI, Shepard said. Not that office, not that agent. We can't call local police. We can't call the FBI. So who the hell do we call? Nobody. Not yet. Not until we figure out who's clean and who isn't. Headlights swept across the diner's front windows. Shepard moved fast, killing the overhead lights. Through the blinds, he watched a Hines County Sheriff's cruiser pull into the parking lot. Slow, deliberate, a predator's approach. Everyone quiet, Shepard commanded. Emma stays in the back. Nobody confirms she's here. Deputy Wayne Stokes stepped out of the cruiser. He was tall, lean, early 40s with the kind of smile that made you check your wallet. He adjusted his gun belt and walked toward the diner entrance like he owned the earth beneath his boots. Shepard met him at the door. "Evening," Stokes said pleasantly. "Or morning, I guess. You boys are up late." "Long ride. Needed coffee." "I hear that." Stokes glanced at the row of Harleys parked outside. His eyes cataloged each one. "Listen, we got a situation. Missing child, little blonde girl, 5 years old, name's Emma Whitfield. Her foster mother was found dead tonight. We believe the child may have witnessed the incident, and we need to locate her for her own safety." Shepard didn't blink. "Haven't seen any kids. Just us and coffee." Stokes smiled wider. It didn't reach his eyes, not even close. "Mind if I take a look around? Standard procedure." "You got a warrant?" The smile dimmed by exactly 1 degree. "Don't need a warrant for a missing child welfare check. You need probable cause to search private property. This is Earl Tucker's establishment. Earl, you want this man searching your place?" Earl stepped forward from behind the counter. He was old, but he wasn't soft. "I've been open since 10 p.m. Ain't no children come through here. Just these boys and a couple truckers who already left." Stokes's eyes narrowed. He was calculating. 8 bikers, an old man with attitude, a waitress who wouldn't look at him. Something was off, and he could feel it. "The child may be in danger," Stokes said, his voice dropping the friendly pretense. "If she's hurt, if she's confused, if she's wandering around in the dark, then I'm sure your department will find her," Counselor interrupted, stepping beside Shepard. "Thomas Brennan, licensed attorney, state of Mississippi. My client, Mr. Tucker, has informed you that no child is present on his premises. Unless you have a warrant or exigent circumstances supported by specific articulable facts, you're trespassing." Stokes stared at Counselor for a long 5 seconds. Then he laughed, soft, cold. "A biker with a law degree, that's cute." He pulled a card from his pocket, placed it on the counter. "If you see anything, call. This child's life may depend on it." He turned and walked out, got in his cruiser. But he didn't leave. He parked across the road, engine running, lights off. "He knows," Mama Bear said from the hallway. "He's not going anywhere." "No," Shepard agreed. "He's not, and he's calling for backup right now." Emma appeared behind Mama Bear. She'd heard everything. Her face was white as bone. "That's him," she whispered. That's the man who was in our house. That's the man who brought the gun. Shepard knelt in front of her again. You're sure? I saw him through the floor. Miss Claire hid me under the kitchen. There's a little door. I saw his boots. I heard his voice. He said, "Where's the evidence, Claire?" He said it mean. Then the other man, the one on the phone, he said to do it. And Deputy Stokes, her voice broke. He shot her. I heard it. I heard Miss Claire fall. 8 grown men in leather vests stood in that diner, and not one of them could speak. The weight of what this child had witnessed pressed down on the room like a physical force. Shepard picked Emma up. She wrapped her arms around his neck and buried her face against his shoulder. She smelled like dirt and fear and something else, something fierce and unbroken that made his chest ache. Mama Bear, get the medical kit. Clean her up, bandage her feet. Counselor, copy that USB drive, every file. Send copies to 3 different email accounts. If anything happens to us, that evidence survives. And Stokes? Counselor asked. He can sit out there until his engine runs dry. We're not moving until I know where we're moving to. 15 minutes passed, then 30. Mama Bear cleaned Emma's torn feet with antiseptic that made the child hiss through her teeth, but she didn't cry. She hadn't cried since the diner. She was past crying. She'd entered that place children go when the world breaks its promises. A place of numb, watchful silence that no child should ever know. You're brave, Mama Bear told her, wrapping gauze around her left foot. Miss Claire said brave is when you're scared but you do the hard thing anyway. Miss Claire was smart. She was the best person. She read me stories every night. She let me help make dinner even though I spilled things. She never yelled. Emma's voice dropped. Nobody ever didn't yell before. Mama Bear stopped rapping. Her hands were steady, but her eyes burned. How many homes have you been in, Emma? Miss Claire was number 5. The first 4 were loud. People yelled a lot. One of them locked the pantry. I was hungry a lot. You're not going to be hungry anymore. Promise? Promise. Emma reached out and touched the Hell's Angels patch on Mama Bear's vest. What does this mean? It means we're family. We take care of each other. Can I be family? The question hit Mama Bear like a bullet. She looked at this tiny girl with the bloody feet and the brave eyes, and she thought about her own daughter, Sarah, killed by a drunk driver at age 6, 7 years ago, the wound that never closed. You already are, baby. The radio on Shepard's belt crackled. One of the bikers posted outside, a man named Ridge, former Army Ranger, was watching the road. Shepard, we got movement. 2 more cruisers inbound from the south. And something else. Black SUV, no markings, government plates. How far? 5 minutes. Shepard looked at Counselor. They're escalating. We need allies, real ones. Who do you trust in federal law enforcement? Counselor thought hard. Sophia Reyes, FBI field office in New Orleans. Former colleague from my public defender days. She went federal. I went the other direction. She's clean, she's tough, and she has no connection to the Jackson office. Call her. Counselor dialed. The phone rang 4 times. A woman's voice answered, sharp and alert despite the hour. Brennan, it's 4 a.m. Someone better be dead. Someone is dead. A foster mother in Tupelo named Claire Dawson, murdered by a sheriff's deputy named Wayne Stokes, operating under Sheriff Bo Langston. The victim was investigating a child trafficking ring run through Hinds County Family Court. We have her 5-year-old foster daughter and a USB drive containing evidence that implicates a judge, a sheriff, an FBI agent, and a real estate developer named Vincent Hale. The child is a witness to the murder. The sheriff's department is outside this diner right now trying to take her. Silence. Then, where are you exactly? Rest stop off Highway 61, mile marker 147. Don't move. Don't engage. Don't let that child out of your sight. I'm in New Orleans, that's 4 hours minimum. Can you hold that long? We'll hold. Brennan, if what you're saying is true, this is going to be the biggest trafficking case in Mississippi history. And the people running it will kill everyone in that diner to keep it quiet. Do you understand what you're sitting on? I understand. 4 hours. Don't trust anyone with a badge until I get there. The line went dead. Counselor put the phone down. She's coming. 4 hours. 4 hours, Shepard repeated. The second cruiser arrived, then the third, then the black SUV. Sheriff Bo Langston himself stepped out. Silver hair, pressed uniform, the kind of face that belonged on campaign billboards. Trustworthy, fatherly, wholesome. He walked toward the diner with the confidence of a man who'd never been told no. Shepard stepped outside. Behind him, 6 Hell's Angels formed a line. Not threatening, not aggressive, just present. A wall of leather and steel and quiet refusal. "Evening, gentlemen," Langston said, his voice smooth as river water. "I understand there's been some confusion. My deputy spoke to you earlier about a missing child. Terrible situation. Her foster mother was killed tonight. Home invasion, we think. The girl may have witnessed it. She's traumatized, confused, possibly injured. We just want to help her." "She's not here," Shepard said. Langston smiled, patient, indulgent. The way you'd smile at a child who's telling an obvious lie. "Son, I've got 3 units, thermal imaging, and a helicopter 20 minutes out. That little girl is somewhere within a quarter mile of this building. I can feel it. Now, we can do this the easy way. You let me do my job and protect this child, or we can do it the hard way. Your choice." "The child says your deputy killed her mother." The smile didn't waver, not a millimeter. "Like I said, she's traumatized, confused. Children process violence in unpredictable ways. She needs professional help, not a biker gang playing hero." She says she watched through the floorboards while Deputy Stokes shot Claire Dawson in her own kitchen. She says you were on the phone giving the order. Now the smile changed, just slightly. The warmth drained out of it, replaced by something ancient and cold. "That's a serious accusation. One that could have legal consequences for anyone who repeats it." "Then arrest me," Shepard said. Langston studied him. 8 bikers, an old diner owner who was definitely armed. The growing possibility that this situation was spiraling beyond his control. He glanced at the diner windows. Somewhere inside, a 5-year-old girl held evidence that could destroy his entire world. "This isn't over," Langston said quietly. So quietly only Shepard could hear. "No," Shepard agreed. "It's not." Langston turned and walked back to his SUV. He picked up his radio. From 50 feet away, Shepard couldn't hear the words, but he saw Langston's face in the dome light as he spoke. And what he saw there wasn't anger. It was calculation. The cold, methodical planning of a man deciding how many people he was willing to kill to protect his secrets. Inside the diner, Emma sat on the storeroom floor, holding the backpack against her chest. She heard the engines outside. She heard the voices. She understood, with the terrible clarity that hunted children develop, that the monsters had found her. She opened the backpack and pulled out the USB drive, held it in her small hand. This tiny piece of plastic that Miss Claire had died for. This thing that was more important than anything Emma had ever held. "I won't let them have it," she whispered to nobody, to Claire, to the darkness, to herself. "I'll run again if I have to. I'll run forever, but they're not getting it. I promise, Miss Claire, I promise." Outside, more headlights appeared on the highway, coming fast. Shepard's hand moved to his belt, but these weren't cruisers. They were motorcycles, deep, rumbling engines that shook the ground. Headlights cutting through the darkness like a cavalry charge. Ridge's voice on the radio, charged with something that sounded almost like joy. "Shepard, we got brothers incoming. Iron Horsemen out of Birmingham. Southern Brotherhood from Baton Rouge. I count 30 bikes, 40, more behind them." Word had spread, the way it always spread in the Brotherhood. A child in danger. Hell's angels standing ground. Brothers needed. They came. From Alabama, from Louisiana, from Tennessee. Riding through the night because that's what you do when family calls. 40 motorcycles, then 50, then 60. The rest stop parking lot filled with chrome and leather and the kind of men that society looked at and saw criminals. Sheriff Langston watched from his SUV as his tactical advantage evaporated. 3 cruisers and a black SUV against 60 bikers. The math didn't work anymore. But he wasn't done. Men like Langston were never done. He picked up his phone and dialed a number he'd hoped he'd never have to use. "It's Langston. We have a situation. The Dawson woman's evidence survived. The girl has it. She's with bikers at a rest stop off 61. I need the contractor team." The voice on the other end was calm, professional. "How many hostiles?" 60, maybe more coming. "Budget?" "Whatever it takes. If that evidence reaches federal hands, we're all finished. Every one of us." "Understood. Team will be on site within 2 hours." Langston hung up. He looked at the diner one last time. Somewhere inside, a 5-year-old girl was holding the key to his destruction in her tiny hands. 2 hours. He had 2 hours to get that drive and silence that child before everything he'd built came crashing down. And inside the diner, Emma Whitfield pressed her face against Mama Bear's chest and whispered the words that had started everything. "Don't let them take me." Mama Bear held her tighter. "Never." Mama Bear felt Emma's heartbeat through the leather jacket. Fast. Too fast for a child that small. The girl hadn't slept, hadn't eaten, hadn't stopped shaking since the diner. But she hadn't let go of that backpack either. Not once. Not even when Mama Bear tried to set it aside so Emma could rest. "I have to hold it," Emma whispered. "Miss Claire said don't let go." "Okay, baby, you hold it." Shepard stood at the front window watching Langston's SUV. The sheriff hadn't moved. 3 cruisers flanked him. Their lights were off, but their engines ran. And every few minutes, Shepard caught the glow of a phone screen inside one of the vehicles. Langston was coordinating, building something. The kind of patience that scared Shepard more than aggression, because patience meant planning, and planning meant resources they couldn't see yet. "Counselor," Shepard's voice was low, "how many copies of that drive did you send?" 3 separate email accounts, one to my personal server, one to a journalist contact in New York, one to a cloud backup that auto-forwards if I don't check in every 12 hours. Good, if they kill us all, the evidence still walks. Comforting thought. Ridge pushed through the back door. He was breathing hard, his eyes sharp with adrenaline. 63 bikes in the lot, more coming. Iron Horsemen brought 12 men. Southern Brotherhood brought 20. A few independents who heard the call. But Shepard, these guys are ready to ride. They want to know the play. The play is we hold. 4 hours until Agent Reyes gets here from New Orleans. Nobody engages Langston's people. Nobody fires unless fired upon. We're the wall. That's it. And if they come through the wall, then God help them. Emma's voice carried from the storeroom. "Mama Bear, I'm hungry." Such a small thing, such a normal, human thing. A hungry child in the middle of a nightmare. Mama Bear looked at Darlene, the waitress, who was already moving. 2 minutes later, Darlene set a plate of scrambled eggs and toast in front of Emma with a glass of orange juice. Emma stared at the food. "Miss Claire made scrambled eggs. She put cheese in them." "You want cheese, sweetheart?" Darlene asked. "No, I want Miss Claire." Nobody had an answer for that. Darlene turned away, pressing her hand to her mouth. Mama Bear sat beside Emma and put her arm around her. "Eat, baby. You need your strength." Emma picked up the fork. She ate mechanically, without tasting, the way people eat when their body demands fuel, but their mind is somewhere else entirely. Between bites, she talked. Not because anyone asked her to, but because the silence was worse than the memories. Miss Claire started acting different 3 weeks ago. She stopped sleeping. She stayed up at the computer after I went to bed. I could see the light under her door. Once I got up to go to the bathroom, and I heard her crying. Counselor sat across from her, his laptop open, recording. Did she tell you why she was upset? She said some kids who used to stay with her got sent to a bad place. She said the people who were supposed to keep them safe were the ones hurting them. She said she was going to fix it. Did she mention any names? Besides Deputy Stokes. Emma chewed her toast, thinking hard. She talked on the phone a lot. She said Judge Kincaid, like it was a bad word. And she said a name, Mr. Hale. She said Mr. Hale was the worst one. She said he pretends to be nice, but he buys kids like their furniture. Counselor's fingers froze over the keyboard. He met Shepard's eyes across the room. Vincent Hale. A name they'd seen on the USB drive, attached to millions of dollars in a compound called Riverbend Academy. Emma, did Miss Claire ever say where Mr. Hale takes the children? A ranch. She said it's near the edge of the country, where Mississippi stops. The border, Shepard said, near the state line. She was going to tell the FBI man. She called him 2 days ago. She said his name was Agent Preston, and he was going to help. Emma put down her fork. But then she called him again tonight, right before the bad men came. She called him and told him she had everything ready. And then Stokes showed up, Shepard finished, really fast, like he already knew. The diner fell silent. Outside, motorcycle engines rumbled as another group of riders pulled in. Inside, the terrible math assembled itself. Claire Dawson had called FBI agent Neil Preston for help. Preston had called Langston. Langston had sent Stokes. And now Claire was dead on her kitchen floor, and her 5-year-old foster daughter was sitting in a Mississippi diner eating scrambled eggs, holding the only evidence that proved all of it. Counselor closed his laptop. Shepard, we need to talk. Privately. They stepped into the hallway between the kitchen and the storeroom. Counselor kept his voice barely above a whisper. The drive has GPS coordinates, a compound 60 miles south, near the Louisiana border. If Claire's documentation is accurate, there could be 19 children at that location right now. You want to go get them. I want to acknowledge that while we're sitting here playing defense, kids are sitting in that compound. And if Langston realizes his operation is blown, the first thing he'll do is clean house. Destroy evidence, move the children, or worse. We can't split our forces. We've got 60 riders, but half of them just got here. They don't know the situation. They don't know the terrain. Then we don't split. We move. All of us. We take Emma, we take the evidence, and we hit that compound before Langston's people can regroup. That's insane. Waiting 4 hours for one FBI agent while a sheriff with unlimited resources plans his next move is insane. We're sitting ducks here, Shepard. The longer we stay, the more time he has. A crash from outside cut the conversation short. Ridge's voice erupted over the radio. Contact! Shooter in the tree line, east side, 1 round through the front window. Shepard ran. The diner's front window had a hole the size of a fist. Glass covered the floor. Darlene was on the ground, Earl crouching over her. She's okay, Earl said. Glass cuts, nothing deep. Another shot. This one hit the wall 3 feet from where Shepard stood. He dove left, pulling his weapon. Sniper, Ridge called over the radio. Single shooter, professional. 300 yards out, maybe more. Anyone hit? Negative, but he's zeroing in. Mama Bear had already moved. She grabbed Emma from the storeroom and pulled her behind the steel commercial refrigerator in the kitchen, the only thing in the building that would stop a rifle round. Emma was silent, not screaming, not crying, just silent, clutching the backpack. A third shot punched through the wall and hit the coffee maker. It exploded, sending glass and hot liquid across the counter. Earl swore and returned fire through the broken window with a hunting rifle he'd pulled from behind the register. Earl, hold fire, Shepard commanded. We can't see the target and we can't afford to hit a civilian. Ain't no civilians out there, just that snake Langston and his hired killers. The shooting stopped, not because the sniper was gone, because he'd done what he came to do. He delivered a message. We can reach you. We can reach the girl. Stop hiding behind walls that won't protect you. Shepard's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Mr. Callahan, Langston's voice. Calm, conversational, like they were discussing the weather. That was a warning shot. The next one won't miss. You're shooting at a building full of civilians. I'm conducting a law enforcement operation to recover an endangered child. If civilians are caught in the crossfire, that's tragic. But the record will show my department did everything possible to protect that little girl from the dangerous biker gang that kidnapped her. Nobody kidnapped anyone. That's not what my report says. And my report is the one that matters. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to bring Emma Whitfield and any electronic devices in your possession to the parking lot. You're going to hand them to my deputies, and then you and your friends are going to ride away, and this whole unfortunate episode disappears. And if we don't, then what happens next is on you, not me. Every casualty, every injury, every consequence, you'll carry that. Shepard looked through the kitchen doorway at Emma. The girl was sitting behind the refrigerator, holding the backpack against her chest. She was looking directly at him, those blue eyes, ancient and terrified, asking the only question that mattered. Are you going to give me to them? Langston, yes. Go to hell. He hung up. Counselor, Shepard called out, change of plans. We're not waiting 4 hours. We're moving in 30 minutes. Counselor appeared from the back hallway. Moving where? The compound, Riverbend. We've got the coordinates. We've got 60 riders. And we've got the element of surprise because Langston thinks we're pinned down. He has a sniper. Ridge, can your boys deal with the sniper? Ridge's voice on the radio was cold and certain. Give me 10 minutes and 3 men. He won't be a problem. Do it, quietly. 12 minutes later, Ridge came back on the radio. Snipers neutralized, zip-tied to a tree, took his rifle. He's contract military, Shepard, private sector. This isn't county sheriff resources. Someone's spending real money. Shepard addressed the room. Listen up, everyone. We've got evidence of a trafficking compound 60 miles south with 19 children inside. The sheriff's department is running the operation. FBI Jackson Field Office is compromised. A clean federal agent is 4 hours out from New Orleans. We don't have 4 hours. If Langston gets to that compound first, those kids disappear, or worse. He paused. Let the weight of it settle. I'm not ordering anyone to ride. This isn't club business. This is human business. You ride or you don't. No judgment either way. Earl Tucker, 71 years old, Korean War veteran, stepped forward. I'm closing my diner and I'm coming with you. Darlene, still picking glass from her hair, stood up beside him. I've got a truck and a shotgun. I'm in. One by one, every biker in that lot stepped forward. 63 riders, not because someone gave an order, because sometimes the choice makes itself. Mama Bear carried Emma to the lead truck. Shepard drove. Emma sat between them, the backpack on her lap. As they pulled out of the rest stop, Emma turned and watched the diner shrink in the rearview mirror. Are we going to the bad place? She asked. The place where the kids are? Yes, Shepard said. He didn't lie to her. She deserved that. Will the kids be scared of you? Of the motorcycles? Probably. I'll tell them not to be scared. I'll tell them you're the good ones. Mama Bear's hand found Emma's. Squeezed. The convoy rolled south through the Mississippi darkness. 60 motorcycles, 8 trucks, 1 5-year-old girl with a dead woman's evidence. 20 minutes into the ride, Cody Wells pulled his bike alongside the lead truck. Shepard rolled down the window. Cody's face was tight, his jaw working like he was chewing on words that wouldn't come. Shepard, I need to tell you something. Talk. I know the compound, Riverbend. I've been there. The truck swerved slightly. Shepard corrected. How? My brother Tyler, he was in a group home in Biloxi. Disappeared 2 years ago. System said he was transferred. I couldn't find him. Nobody could find him. I joined the Hells Angels because I heard you guys help people. I thought maybe... Cody, how do you know the compound? Cody's bike drifted. He gripped the handlebars tighter. 6 months ago, a man contacted me. Said he worked for Vincent Hale. Said Tyler was alive and at River Bend. Said he'd stay alive as long as I cooperated. Mama Bear leaned across Emma. Cooperated how? Information. They wanted to know club movements. When we did charity rides near the border. What law enforcement contacts we had. Cody's voice broke apart. I didn't tell them about Emma. I swear to God I didn't know about Emma until tonight. But the rest, the intelligence, the routes, I gave them what they wanted because they had Tyler. The convoy was at 60 miles an hour. Wind roared. Engines thundered. And inside the truck, the silence was absolute. Shepard's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. You've been informing on the club. I was trying to save my brother. You put every member at risk. I know what I did. That's why I'm telling you now. Because we're riding into that compound and I know the layout. I know where the guards are, where they keep the kids, where the blind spots are. I can get us in, but you need to know the truth first. Because you grew a conscience at a convenient time. Because that little girl in your truck watched her mother die for doing the right thing. And I've been doing the wrong thing for 2 years. I'm done. Cody's eyes were red. Tears or wind or both. Tyler is in there, Shepard. He's 15 years old, and he's been in that hellhole for 2 years because I wasn't brave enough to do what Claire Dawson did. Emma pulled on Shepard's sleeve. He's scared, like me. Shepard glanced down at her. What? He did a bad thing because he was scared. Miss Claire said scared people do bad things sometimes. But it doesn't mean they're bad forever. It means they need help. A 5-year-old girl dispensing grace in the middle of the night to a man who'd betrayed the people protecting her. Shepard thought about Ellie, thought about what she'd say if she were here. His daughter had been fierce about fairness, even at 6. Cody, yeah, you ride point. You get us into that compound. You help us get those kids out. After that, we'll deal with what you've done. Yes, sir. And Cody, if you're lying, if this is another play, I will end you myself. I'm not lying, not anymore. Cody accelerated ahead of the convoy. Shepard watched him go, then looked at Mama Bear. She shook her head slowly. I don't trust him. I don't either. Then why? Because he knows the compound and we don't. Because his brother is in there. And because that little girl just forgave him. And if a 5-year-old who watched her mother die can show mercy, the least I can do is give him a chance to earn it. The convoy turned off the highway onto a county road. The pavement ended after 3 miles, replaced by gravel, then dirt. Trees pressed close. No streetlights, no houses. The kind of dark that only exists in rural Mississippi, where the land swallows you whole and nobody hears what happens in the swallowing. Counselor's voice crackled on the radio from the truck behind them. Shepard, I've been monitoring police frequencies. Langston knows we moved. He's mobilizing. I'm picking up chatter about a contractor team, separate from the sniper. Military-grade assets. ETA to the compound, approximately 90 minutes. How far are we? 40 minutes. Then we've got a 50-minute window. That's it. 50 minutes to breach, extract, and get gone before Langston's people arrive with enough firepower to bury us. Mama Bear looked at Emma. The child's eyes were heavy, exhaustion pulling at her, but she was fighting it, forcing herself awake. You can sleep, baby, Mama Bear said. No, I have to stay awake. If I sleep, the bad men might come while I'm not watching. Nobody's coming. That's what Miss Claire said. The words landed like stones. Mama Bear had no response. Because the child was right, Claire had promised safety, and Claire was dead. Every adult who promised this girl protection had failed her. Mama Bear was just the latest in a line of people making promises they might not be able to keep. But she made the promise anyway, because what else can you do? "I'm not Claire," Mama Bear said quietly. "I'm not going to tell you everything's going to be fine. I'm going to tell you the truth. Tonight is dangerous. The people we're going after are bad. Some of us might get hurt. But I've been in combat. I've treated wounded soldiers under fire. I've carried people out of places worse than this. And I'm telling you, Emma, I am not letting go of you. Not tonight. Not ever." Emma searched her face the way she'd searched it in the diner, reading her, testing her, looking for the crack, the lie, the betrayal that always came. She didn't find one. "Okay," Emma whispered, and she leaned her head against Mama Bear's arm. Cody's voice came over the radio. "Shepard, 2 miles out, kill your headlights. From here, we go dark." 60 motorcycles cut their lights simultaneously. The convoy became a river of shadow and engine noise, moving through the Mississippi night toward a compound where 19 children waited in cages for help that had never come. Until now. Shepard reached across Emma and took Mama Bear's hand. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. They both knew what was coming. The kind of violence that changes everyone it touches. The kind you don't walk away from clean. But between them sat a 5-year-old girl whose foster mother had died to protect these children. A girl who had run through 40 miles of darkness because a dead woman told her to be brave. A girl holding a backpack full of evidence that could destroy an empire built on stolen innocence. Cody's voice again, barely a whisper on the radio. "I can see the compound. Lights on. Guards at the main gate. 3, maybe 4. Cameras on the perimeter wall. But the old tunnel entrance on the south side, behind the slave quarters, it's unmonitored. I've used it before. It's how they brought me in to see Tyler." "How many guards total?" "When I was here, 10 to 12, but that was normal operations. If Langston warned them, could be double." "Dogs?" 2. Rottweilers. They patrol the east fence between midnight and dawn." Shepard split the convoy with hand signals. 20 riders with Ridge circled east to create a diversion at the main gate. 15 with a man called Ironside took the west perimeter. The remaining 28, including Shepard, Mama Bear, Emma, and Cody, approached the south side on foot. Engines killed a quarter-mile out. Emma held Mama Bear's hand as they moved through the trees. Shepard carried her when the brush got too thick for her bare feet. She weighed nothing in his arms. 43 pounds of courage and trauma wrapped in an oversized leather jacket. Cody found the tunnel entrance, an old stone archway, half collapsed, covered by kudzu and decades of neglect. The opening was barely 4 feet tall. "It runs under the old foundations," Cody whispered. "Comes up inside the main building, behind the kitchen. The kids are kept in the east wing, dormitory style, locked from outside. Guards inside? 2 at the dormitory door, 1 roving. Cook sleeps in the kitchen, but he's not armed. And Hale? If he's here, he'll be in the main house. Separate building, north side. That's where he entertains his clients." Cody's voice dripped with a disgust so deep it sounded like poison. His clients. That's what he calls them. Shepard set Emma down. He crouched to her level. "You stay with Mama Bear. You don't leave her side. Whatever happens, whatever you hear, you hold her hand and you don't let go." "What if something happens to Mama Bear?" "Nothing's going to happen to Mama Bear. That's what—" "I know what Miss Claire said." Shepard's voice was rough. "I know I sound like every adult who ever broke a promise to you, but I'm asking you to trust me one more time. Can you do that?" Emma looked at him. At the gray beard, the scars, the Hells Angels patch, the military medals beneath it. Everything society told a 5-year-old to fear. Miss Claire said the most dangerous-looking people are sometimes the safest ones. She said you can't judge people by what they look like. You have to judge them by what they do. And what have I done? You stayed. When everybody else would have driven away, you stayed. Shepard's throat closed. He pulled Emma into a brief, fierce hug. Then he stood, checked his weapon, and looked at the tunnel entrance. Cody, take point. Get us to those kids. Cody disappeared into the darkness. One by one, the others followed. Mama Bear lifted Emma onto her hip and ducked into the stone archway. Behind them, the Mississippi night held its breath. And somewhere inside that compound, 19 children slept in locked rooms, not knowing that a 5-year-old girl with bloody feet and a dead woman's courage was coming to set them free. The tunnel smelled like rot in standing water. Mama Bear moved through the darkness with Emma on her hip, one hand pressed against the stone wall for guidance. The child's arms were locked around her neck, tight, desperate, the grip of someone who'd learned that letting go meant losing everything. Cody moved ahead of them, silent as a ghost. Whatever else the man was, whatever betrayals lived in his past, he knew this tunnel. His feet found the solid ground without hesitation. He stopped once, held up a fist. Everyone froze. Tripwire, he whispered. Knee height, step over. They stepped over, one by one. 28 people moving through a tunnel built by slaves 200 years ago, now being used to reach children trapped by a different kind of slavery. The cruelty of that symmetry wasn't lost on anyone. Shepard counted steps, 200, 300. The tunnel angled upward, air changed, warmer. A door ahead, wooden, ancient. Cody pressed his ear against it, listened, then turned back. Kitchen, one man inside, sleeping. Beyond that, a hallway. East wing is 40 yards right. That's where the kids are. Guards? I can hear 2 voices. They're at the dormitory entrance. Shepard turned to Mama Bear. You stay here with Emma until we secure the wing. When I radio clear, you bring her through. No. Emma's voice, small but iron hard. I'm coming. Emma, the kids don't know you. They'll be scared. Big men in leather with guns. They'll think you're more bad people. They need to see me. I'm a kid. They'll trust a kid. Shepard opened his mouth to argue and found he couldn't. Because she was right. He'd seen it in Afghanistan. Terrified children wouldn't go with soldiers, but they'd follow another child. Every time. You stay behind me, behind Mama Bear. You don't move until I say. Okay. Cody eased the door open. The kitchen was dark. A man slept in a chair, head back, mouth open. Shepard moved past him like smoke. 2 bikers zip-tied his hands and gagged him before he fully woke. His eyes went wide with terror. He tried to scream. Nothing came out but a muffled whimper. Shepard leaned close. How many children in the East Wing? The man shook his head frantically. I asked you a question. The man's eyes darted to Cody. Recognition, then confusion, then fear so deep it changed the color of his skin. Cody crouched beside him. Answer him, Ray. It's over. All of it. Tell him what he wants to know. Ray's eyes filled with tears. He nodded toward the hallway, held up both hands, then held up one hand with 4 fingers extended. 19? Counselor translated. Ray shook his head, held up both hands again, then 4 fingers. 24, Mama Bear said. There are 24 children in there. Ray nodded. Claire's record said 19, Counselor whispered. 5 more since she documented it, Shepard said. They've been busy. The hallway was long and poorly lit. 2 guards sat at the far end in folding chairs. One was reading a magazine. The other was on his phone. Neither expected trouble. Why would they? This compound had operated for years without interference. They were comfortable, complacent. That complacency was about to cost them. Ridge's diversion hit the main gate at exactly the right moment. An explosion of engine noise, headlights, and shouting. Both guards jumped to their feet. One grabbed his radio. The other pulled his weapon and ran toward the commotion. That left one. Shepard covered the 40 yards in seconds. The remaining guard spun, fumbled for his weapon. Shepard hit him once. Hard. The man crumpled. Zip ties. Gag. Down. Clear, Shepard radioed. Mama Bear, bring her up. Mama Bear carried Emma through the kitchen and down the hallway. The dormitory door had 3 locks. Heavy-duty deadbolts designed to keep children in, not intruders out. Cody had keys. He'd stolen a set months ago, hidden them in his boot. The first lock clicked open. The second. The third. Cody pushed the door. The room was dark. It took a moment for eyes to adjust. Then Shepard saw them. Rows of cots, small bodies, some sleeping, some awake, sitting up in the darkness, eyes reflecting the hallway light like animals caught in headlamps. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The silence was suffocating. Then a boy's voice cracked and cautious. Cody? Cody's composure shattered. Tyler! A thin boy, maybe 15, stood from a cot near the wall. He was gaunt, hollowed out, but he was alive, and when he saw his brother, something broke open in his face. You came back. I came back. I'm sorry it took so long. Tyler crossed the room and fell into Cody's arms. The embrace lasted 5 seconds before Tyler pulled away, his eyes hardening. There are guards, 6 more in the north building, and Mr. Hale is here. He arrived 3 hours ago. He brought people with him. What people? Men in suits. They come when Mr. Hale is moving kids. It means they're shipping some of us out tomorrow. Tyler's voice was flat, emotionless, the voice of someone who'd learned to describe horror the way you describe weather. 3 girls. He picked them this morning. They're in the isolation room. Shepard's blood froze. Where's the isolation room? North building, 2nd floor. You can't get to them without going through Hale's guards. Watch me. Shepard. Mama Bear's voice carried a warning. We have 24 children to extract. 21 in this room, 3 in the north building. We have maybe 40 minutes before Langston's contractors arrive. We cannot split up. She was right. He knew she was right. But 3 girls were locked in an isolation room with a man who bought children like merchandise. And the math of tactical decision-making didn't account for the sound Tyler's voice made when he said, he picked them this morning. Mama Bear, start moving these kids through the tunnel. Cody, you and Tyler help. Counselor, I need you at the south exit coordinating transport. And you? I'm going to the north building. Alone? Not alone. Shepard keyed his radio. Ironside, what's your position? West perimeter, fences down, we're through. I need 4 men at the north building. Service entrance, 2 minutes. On our way. Emma tugged on Shepard's hand. He looked down. The child's face was pale, but resolute. Bring them back, she said. All of them. I will. Promise? He knelt, took her hands, so small in his. I promise. Miss Claire said promises matter. She said they're the most important thing people have. Miss Claire was right. Emma reached into her backpack and pulled out something Shepard hadn't seen before. A small stuffed bear, dirty and worn, missing one eye. Give this to the girls. Tell them Emma sent it. Tell them they're safe now. Shepard took the bear. His hand closed around it, and he felt something crack in his chest. The last wall. The one he'd built after Ellie died. The one that kept him moving, kept him functional, kept him from drowning in grief. This 5-year-old girl with her one-eyed bear just broke through it like it was paper. I'll bring them back, Emma. I swear on my daughter's memory. He stood and moved toward the north building. Behind him, Mama Bear began the evacuation. One by one, children rose from their cots. Some were barely awake. Some were crying. Some were too numb to react at all. A girl, maybe 7, grabbed Mama Bear's vest. Is this real? The girl whispered. Are you really here? I'm really here, sweetheart. We're taking you home. I don't remember home. Mama Bear picked her up, carried her, kept moving. There would be time for grief later, time for rage, time for the kind of crying that comes from the deepest part of you and doesn't stop for days. But not now. Now there was only the tunnel and the darkness, and 21 children who needed to get through it. Tyler led them. He knew the building. He knew the rhythms of the guards, the patrol schedules, the blind spots. 2 years of captivity had turned him into an expert on the geography of his own prison. Younger kids first, Tyler told Mama Bear. Some of them can't walk fast. Miguel, the little one with the brown hair, he's got a bad leg. They broke it 6 months ago and it healed wrong. Who broke it? One of the guards. Miguel tried to run. Mama Bear's grip tightened on the girl in her arms. How old is Miguel? 7. She didn't say anything else. She didn't need to. The fury in her eyes said everything language couldn't. Emma walked beside Tyler at the front of the line. She'd insisted. The children watched her, this tiny blonde girl who moved through the darkness with purpose and wasn't afraid. Or if she was afraid, she refused to show it. And one by one, they followed her. Because Tyler was right and Emma was right, children trust children. It's the adults who've earned their suspicion. Where are we going? A small boy asked, 6 years old, clutching a blanket. Out, Emma said. Away from here. The motorcycle people are taking us. Motorcycle people? They're loud and they look scary, but they're nice. They gave me eggs. The boy considered this. I like eggs. Then you'll like them. At the North Building, Shepard found Ironside and 4 Hells Angels at the service entrance. Ironside was huge, 6'5", 300 pounds, a former Navy SEAL who traded a trident for a Hells Angels patch. His hands were the size of catcher's mitts and twice as hard. How many inside? Ironside asked. 6 guards, according to the kid, plus Hale and unknown associates. 3 girls in a second-floor isolation room. Rules of engagement? Get the girls out. Everything else is secondary. And Hale? He doesn't leave this compound. The service entrance was unlocked. First sign of trouble. Someone had left in a hurry. Second sign, a half-eaten meal on a table inside the door. Third sign, voices upstairs. Loud, arguing. Shepard moved up the staircase, heard Hale's voice before he saw him. Smooth, cultured, the kind of voice that belonged at charity galas and country clubs. I don't care about your perimeter problems. Pack the merchandise. We're leaving in 20 minutes. Another voice. Mr. Hale, there's a biker army at our front gate. We can't just... I've been doing this for 12 years. Do you think this is the first time someone's tried to interfere? Pack the girls. Load them in the van. We'll use the east access road while these leather-wearing idiots play soldier at the front. Shepard reached the landing. A hallway. 3 doors. Guards at the first 2. The third door had a padlock. He didn't hesitate. Didn't announce himself. Didn't give warnings. He came through that hallway like a force of nature. The first guard went down before he finished turning around. Ironside took the second. 2 more emerged from a side room. The Hells Angels behind Shepard swarmed them. It was fast, brutal, efficient. These weren't police officers playing tough. These were combat veterans who'd cleared buildings in Fallujah and Kandahar. Hale appeared in the hallway doorway, 60 years old, silver hair, expensive suit. He held a phone in one hand and a briefcase in the other. He looked at Shepard and his face went through 3 expressions in rapid succession. Surprise, fear, then calculation. I have $5 million in this briefcase, Hale said. Cash. Take it. Take the girl from the diner. Walk away. Shepard kept moving toward him. 10 million. I can have it wired within the hour. You'll never have to work again. Open the padlock. You don't understand who I'm connected to. Senators, judges, people who can destroy you. Shepard grabbed Hale by the collar of his $3,000 suit and slammed him against the wall. Open the padlock or I'll break every bone in your hand and open it myself. You're making a mistake. The only mistake I ever made was not finding this place sooner. Hale's composure cracked. For the first time, the mask slipped, and Shepard saw what was underneath. Not a businessman, not a power broker, a predator. A man who'd built an empire on the bodies of children and had never once considered the possibility that someone might come for him. You can't prove anything. My lawyers. We have Claire Dawson's USB drive. Every financial transaction, every text message, every transfer document. We have GPS coordinates. We have children who will testify. And we have you standing in a building full of trafficked kids at 4 in the morning. Shepard's grip tightened. Your lawyers can't help you. Nobody can help you. Hale's hand went to his jacket pocket. Shepard caught his wrist. A gun. Small. Chrome-plated. The kind of weapon rich men carry because they think it makes them dangerous. Ironside took it from Hale's hand like taking candy from a child. Nice gun. Ladies' model. Figures. Shepard dragged Hale to the padlocked door. Key. Hale's hands shook as he produced a key from his vest pocket. The padlock opened. Shepard pushed the door. 3 girls, huddled together on a bare mattress. The oldest was maybe 12. The youngest couldn't have been more than 8. They wore clean clothes, expensive ones, and their hair had been brushed. They looked like dolls, prepared for display. Shepard couldn't speak. The rage that rose in him was so total, so absolute that it closed his throat and burned behind his eyes. He'd seen violence in war. He'd seen atrocities. But this, children dressed up for sale, this was a different kind of evil. The kind that wore suits and smiled at charity events and never got its own hands dirty. The oldest girl looked at Hale, then at Shepard. She was shaking. Are you going to hurt us? Shepard dropped to one knee. He pulled the one-eyed bear from his jacket. A little girl named Emma sent this to you. She said to tell you you're safe now. The youngest girl reached for the bear, held it against her face, started crying. Come on, sweetheart, Ironside said softly, the gentleness in his voice a stunning contradiction to his size. We're getting you out of here. They moved fast, down the stairs, out the service entrance, across the compound toward the south tunnel. Hale walked in front of Shepard, zip-tied, stumbling. Every few steps he tried to negotiate. More money, political protection, information on others in the network. Shepard didn't hear any of it. All he heard was the youngest girl crying into a one-eyed bear that a 5-year-old orphan had given away because she thought someone else needed it more. They reached the tunnel entrance as Counselor's voice erupted over the radio. Shepard, we've got a problem. 21 children are through the tunnel and loaded, but Langston's contractor team just appeared on the North Road. 15 vehicles. They're early. We've got maybe 10 minutes. We're coming through with 3 more, plus Hale. You got Hale? I got Hale. Then move, because if they catch us in this tunnel, we're finished. Shepard pushed Hale into the tunnel entrance. The man tripped, fell, got up, kept moving. Behind them, gunfire erupted at the main gate. Ridge's diversion had escalated. The contractor team was engaging the bikers at the perimeter. The tunnel felt longer going back. Every second stretched. Emma's face appeared at the far end, lit by flashlight. She was standing in the exit, waiting, refusing to leave until everyone was through. Emma, get back, Mama Bear shouted. I'm counting. Tyler said 24. I'm counting everybody. The 3 girls emerged from the tunnel. Emma touched each one as they passed. 1, 2, 3. That's 24. Everybody's out. Then she saw the youngest girl holding her bear. Emma's face broke into the first real smile anyone had seen from her all night. You found Bear. He's really brave. He'll keep you safe. The youngest girl looked at Emma through tear-soaked eyes. Thank you. You're welcome. Now run. The motorcycle people will take us. Hale stumbled out of the tunnel last, followed by Shepard. Emma saw the silver-haired man in the expensive suit and went rigid. She didn't know him. She'd never seen his face. But she recognized what he was. The way hunted animals recognize predators by instinct alone. Is that the bad man? She asked Shepard. One of them. Is he going to jail? For the rest of his life. Emma walked up to Vincent Hale. She barely reached his waist. She tilted her head back and looked up at him with those ancient blue eyes. "Miss Clare knew about you," Emma said. "She had your name on her computer. She said you buy kids." Hale said nothing. His face was gray. "You can't buy people. Miss Clare said people aren't things. People are people. And you're going to jail because Miss Clare was braver than you." She turned and walked away, took Mama Bear's hand, didn't look back. The convoy loaded up in controlled chaos. 24 children distributed among trucks and bikes. The youngest rode in cabs. The older ones sat in truck beds, wrapped in jackets donated by bikers who rode in t-shirts through the Mississippi night without complaint. Tyler refused to leave Cody's side. The brothers rode together on Cody's bike, Tyler's thin arms wrapped around his brother's waist. 2 years of separation erased by one ride. Shepard handcuffed Hale to a D-ring in the bed of a pickup truck. Counselor sat beside the man with a loaded weapon and a legal pad, recording every word Hale said. And Hale talked. Not from courage or guilt, but from calculation. He was already building his defense, already trying to trade information for leniency. "I can give you senators," Hale said. 3 sitting senators who are clients, 2 congressmen, a federal judge. "Keep talking," Counselor said, writing. "The network isn't just Mississippi. We operate in 4 states, Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee. I have records of every transaction, every client, every child." "Where are the records?" "Safe deposit box, First National Bank of Jackson, box 1147. Key is in my briefcase." "How many children total, over the entire operation?" Hale went quiet. The silence itself was an answer. "How many?" Counselor pressed. "Over 12 years?" Hale's voice was barely audible. 63 confirmed placements. 63 children. Counselor's pen stopped moving. He stared at Hale, and for the first time since law school, he wanted to hurt another human being. Not out of anger, out of something deeper, something that lived in the bone. "Placements," Counselor repeated. "You call selling children to predators placements. I didn't create the demand. I facilitated." "Stop talking." "You said keep talking." "I changed my mind. Stop talking or I'll let Ironside finish this conversation." Hale stopped talking. The convoy tore south through back roads, putting distance between themselves and the compound. Behind them, the gunfire at the main gate intensified, then stopped. Ridge's voice came over the radio. "Shepard, we held them as long as we could. Contractor team breached the perimeter. They're inside the compound now. They're going to find it empty." "Casualties?" A pause. "We lost Preacher, Dan Morrison. He held the gate solo when the contractors flanked us. Gave us time to pull back. He took 3 rounds." Shepard closed his eyes. Preacher Dan Morrison, 63 years old, former pastor who'd lost his congregation after his crisis of faith, found a different kind of congregation in the Hells Angels. Gentle man, read poetry, made terrible coffee, always first to volunteer for the hard jobs. "Anyone else?" 4 wounded, nothing fatal. We're rolling south on parallel roads. Rendezvous at the church?" The church. Father Miguel's church in the border town of Esperanza had protected refugees, undocumented families, and battered women for 30 years. A stone building with heavy doors and a priest who believed that sanctuary was more than a word. Counselor had called ahead. Father Miguel was ready. They arrived as the first gray light touched the eastern horizon. 63 bikes and 8 trucks rolling into a small Mississippi town at dawn, carrying 24 children, 1 captured trafficker, and a 5-year-old girl who'd started a war by pressing her bloody hand against a diner window 7 hours ago. Father Miguel stood at the church doors, small man, 70 years old, wire-rimmed glasses, hands that had baptized thousands and buried too many. "Bring them inside," he said simply. "All of them." The children entered the church in a ragged line. Some walked, some were carried. The youngest girl still held Emma's one-eyed bear. Tyler helped Miguel, the 7-year-old with the broken leg that had healed wrong, hop through the doorway on one foot. Mama Bear set Emma down inside the nave. The child looked up at the stained glass windows, at the candles, at the cross. She'd been in a church once before. Claire had taken her at Christmas. Claire had said churches were places where people went to feel safe. "Are we safe here?" Emma asked. "For now," Mama Bear answered, "and soon for good." Because Agent Sofia Reyes was 45 minutes out. Counselor had confirmed it. A federal tactical team was inbound. Real federal. Clean federal. The kind that arrested sheriffs instead of working for them. But 45 minutes was a lifetime when the most powerful men in Mississippi were hunting you. And as if to prove it, Shepard's phone buzzed. "Unknown number," he answered. "You think a church will protect you?" Langston's voice. No longer smooth, no longer calm. The voice of a man watching his empire burn and deciding to burn everything else with it. "You think God gives a damn about bikers and biker trash? I've got 40 men moving on your position. You've got 15 minutes. Hand over Hale, the girl, and the drive, or I will level that building with everyone inside it, children included." "You'd kill 24 children to protect yourself?" "Those children are my property. I paid for them. I process them. I own them. And I'll destroy them before I let some motorcycle gang turn them into witnesses." Shepard looked across the church at Emma. She was sitting on a pew beside the youngest girl, sharing a bottle of water, whispering something that made the little girl almost smile. "Langston." "What?" "You've got 15 minutes before a federal tactical team arrives with warrants for your arrest. Every word you just said was recorded on a phone that's currently uploading to 3 separate cloud servers. You just confessed to child trafficking and threatened to murder children on a recording that will be played in federal court." Silence. "Tick-tock, Sheriff." Shepard hung up. He looked at Counselor, who held up his phone, still recording. "Got every word?" "Send it, now, to Reyes, to the journalist, to everyone." Outside, engines approached. Not motorcycles, heavy vehicles. The townspeople of Esperanza emerged from their homes. Farm workers, shopkeepers, teachers, mothers. They saw the children, they saw the bikers, they saw the trucks approaching from the north, and they made a decision. The same decision ordinary people have been making since the beginning of time when evil shows up at their door. 200 people formed a line between the church and the road. No weapons, no armor, just bodies and the collective refusal to let armed men reach a church full of children. An elderly woman stood at the front of the line, 78 years old, 4 feet 11. She looked at the approaching vehicles and didn't move. "You want those children," she said in Spanish accented English. "You go through me first." Langston's convoy stopped 100 yards from the church. 40 men with automatic weapons facing 200 unarmed civilians and 60 bikers who'd already proven they'd die before they surrendered. The sheriff stepped out of his vehicle, looked at the crowd, looked at the church, looked at the sky where the distant thrum of a helicopter was growing louder. Not a news helicopter, not a police helicopter. FBI. Agent Sofia Reyes, 45 minutes early, because when you hear a recorded confession of a sheriff threatening to murder children, you stop following the speed limit. Langston's face went white. He looked at the approaching helicopter, looked at his men, looked at the crowd of townspeople who would not move. And for the first time in his life, Sheriff Bo Langston understood what it felt like to be trapped, with no way out and no one coming to save him. Inside the church, Emma heard the helicopter. She looked at Mama Bear. "Is that the good guys?" Mama Bear listened, watched through the window as federal vehicles appeared on the South Road. Black SUVs with authentic markings. Agent Reyes stepped out, credentials held high, barking orders. "Yeah, baby," Mama Bear said, her voice cracking. "That's the good guys." Emma closed her eyes. squeezed the backpack against her chest one final time, and for the first time since she'd watched Claire fall to the kitchen floor, she let herself cry. Emma's tears lasted 4 minutes. Then she wiped her face with the back of her hand, took a breath, and stood up from the pew. Mama Bear watched her and recognized something she'd seen in soldiers. The moment when grief gets packed down tight because there's still work to do. "I need to talk to the FBI lady," Emma said. "Baby, you don't have to do anything right now. You can rest." "Miss Claire said the evidence has to go to someone good, someone not from here. Is the FBI lady good?" Mama Bear looked through the church window. Agent Sophia Reyes was directing her team with the precision of someone who'd spent 20 years building cases against the worst people alive. She was arresting Langston's deputies one by one. Calm, professional, thorough. 2 agents had Langston himself face down on the hood of his own SUV, hands behind his back. "Yeah," Mama Bear said. "I think she's good. Then I need to give her this." Emma held up the backpack. The USB drive, Claire's legacy, the thing that had cost a woman her life and sent a 5-year-old running through 40 miles of darkness. Shepard met them at the church door. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in one night. Blood on his knuckles, soot on his face, but his eyes were clear. "Reyes wants to talk to you," he told Emma, "but only if you're ready. Nobody's going to force you." "I'm ready." They walked out together, Emma between Shepard and Mama Bear, holding both their hands. The townspeople parted for them. Some crossed themselves. An old woman pressed rosary beads into Emma's free hand and whispered a prayer in Spanish. Agent Reyes saw them coming. She was mid-40s, sharp-featured, with the kind of eyes that missed nothing. She'd been briefed by Counselor during the drive. She knew the basics, but nothing could have prepared her for the reality of a barefoot 5-year-old girl in a torn nightgown and an oversized biker jacket, walking toward her with the evidence that would blow open the biggest trafficking case in Mississippi history. Reyes crouched to Emma's level. "Hi, Emma. I'm Sophia. I'm with the FBI." "The real FBI? Not the fake kind?" Reyes blinked. "What do you mean?" "Miss Claire called an FBI man named Preston. Then the bad police came and killed her. Counselor says Preston told them she called." Reyes looked at Counselor, who nodded. "Neil Preston, Jackson Field Office. He's compromised." "Preston's been on our radar for 6 months," Reyes said quietly. "Internal Affairs has a file on him. We just couldn't prove the connection until now." Emma unzipped her backpack, pulled out the USB drive, held it out to Reyes with both hands, the way a child offers something precious. "Miss Claire said, give this to the FBI, not local. She wrote it on the tape. See?" Reyes took the drive, read the handwritten label. "Everything is here. Give to FBI, not local." Her jaw tightened. "Miss Claire was very brave," Reyes said. "She was the bravest person I ever knew. Until tonight." Emma glanced at Shepard. "Now I know 2 brave people." Reyes stood. She looked at Shepard. "You understand I should arrest every one of you. Armed assault on a private facility, destruction of property, vigilante justice." "You should," Shepard agreed. "I should also point out that 60 armed civilians just liberated 24 trafficked children that my own agency failed to protect because one of our agents was on the take. You should point that out too. I'm going to process the scene. I'm going to take statements. I'm going to pretend I didn't see any weapons violations. And when this goes to trial, I'm going to need every single one of you to testify." She paused. "Including you, Emma. Can you do that?" Miss Claire said the truth is the most important thing, even when it's scary. Your Miss Claire was right. Reyes turned and walked toward her team. She was already on her phone, calling Washington. This case was about to explode beyond Mississippi, beyond state lines, beyond anything local authorities could contain. Shepard guided Emma back inside the church. The other children were being tended by Father Miguel and the townswomen of Esperanza. Medical supplies had appeared. Blankets, food, water, the kind of mobilization that happens in small communities when they see children in pain. Tyler sat against a wall with Cody beside him. The brothers hadn't separated since the compound. Tyler was eating a sandwich mechanically, the same hollow chewing Emma had done at the diner. Fuel, without pleasure. "How long were you in there?" Emma asked, sitting down across from them. Tyler looked at this little blonde girl who'd somehow been at the center of his rescue. 2 years, 1 month, 16 days. "Did you count every day?" "Every day. I counted too. In my other foster homes, the bad ones. I counted the days until someone moved me." "Did the counting help?" "No, but it made me feel like I was in charge of something, even if it was just numbers." Tyler almost smiled. Almost. The muscles tried, but they'd forgotten how. "Yeah, that's exactly what it was." Cody watched this exchange and something in his face collapsed. Guilt. The weight of 2 years of collaboration with the people who'd imprisoned his brother, crashing down on him all at once. "I should have come sooner," Cody said. "I should have told someone. I should have—" "Stop." Tyler's voice was firm. "You came. That's what matters." "I work for them, Tyler. I gave them information. I put people at risk. You kept me alive. They told me, you know. Every few weeks, one of the guards would say, 'Your brother's cooperating. That's why you're still breathing.' I hated you for it sometimes. I hated that you were out there, free, making deals with the people who locked me up. But I was alive to hate you. And now I'm alive to forgive you." Cody broke, the kind of crying that comes from the gut, the kind that sounds like choking. Tyler put his arm around his brother's shoulders and held him the way older brothers are supposed to hold younger ones, even though Tyler was the one who'd been caged. Emma watched them. She thought about Claire, about the way Claire held her during thunderstorms, singing softly, making the world small and safe, about how she'd never feel that again. "Mama Bear?" "Yeah, baby." "When this is over, where do I go?" The question hung in the church air like incense. Where does a 5-year-old orphan go when the system that's supposed to protect her is the same system that killed her foster mother? "We'll figure it out," Mama Bear said. "That's what grown-ups say when they don't know." "You're right, I don't know yet, but I know you're not going back into the system, not after this." "Promise?" "I swear it." Outside, the federal operation expanded by the hour. Reyes's team secured the compound. Evidence teams photographed everything: the dormitory, the isolation room, the locks on the doors, the records Hale had been trying to destroy. Langston sat in the back of a federal vehicle, handcuffed, silent, his silver hair disheveled for the first time anyone could remember. Deputy Stokes was beside him. Captain Mercer had been picked up at his home at 5:47 a.m., still in his bathrobe, still holding the coffee he'd been making when agents kicked in his door. Judge Robert Kincaid was arrested at 6:12 a.m. He tried to destroy his computer. An agent stopped him. The hard drive contained records of every fraudulent custody transfer he'd signed in 4 years. 63 children, not 19 as Claire had documented, not 24 as they'd found at the compound. 63 children processed through Kincaid's courtroom and sold to the highest bidder. Agent Preston was arrested at 6:30 a.m. at the FBI field office in Jackson. He didn't resist. He didn't speak. He sat in the interrogation room and stared at the wall with the expression of a man who'd always known this day would come and had run out of ways to postpone it. But the real bombshell came at 7:15 a.m. Reyes called Shepard from the compound. Her voice was different, shaken. Reyes didn't get shaken. "Hale's talking," she said. "He's trading names for a deal. Shepard, this goes higher than a county sheriff and a judge." "How high?" 3 state senators, 2 U.S. congressmen, a federal appellate judge, and the name that made my blood run cold, Richard Beaumont. Shepard's grip tightened on the phone. Richard Beaumont, Lieutenant Governor of Mississippi, the man expected to run for governor next year. Church-going, family values, tough on crime, Richard Beaumont. How connected is he? According to Hale, Beaumont is the top of the food chain. He doesn't just protect the operation, he founded it 12 years ago, used his position to install Kincaid as a judge, funded Langston's sheriff campaign, placed Preston inside the FBI. The entire network was Beaumont's creation. Can you prove it? With the USB drive, Hale's testimony, and the financial records from Kincaid's computer, we can bury him. Shepard hung up. He walked back inside the church and found Emma asleep on a pew, her head in Mama Bear's lap, the backpack still clutched in her arms. Even in sleep, she wouldn't let go. He sat down beside Mama Bear. The lieutenant governor. What about him? He built the whole thing, the network, the judges, the corrupt cops, all of it. Mama Bear looked down at Emma's sleeping face. This little girl brought down a lieutenant governor by pressing her hand against a window. Claire brought him down. Emma just carried the torch, carried it 40 miles barefoot through the woods. Shepard leaned his head against the pew. Exhaustion was pulling at him like gravity. His body ached, his knuckles throbbed, but his mind wouldn't stop. Preacher was dead. Dan Morrison, the man who read poetry and made terrible coffee. Dead on the ground at the compound gate because he decided 24 children were worth more than his remaining years. I need to call Carmen, Shepard said, Preacher's wife. I know. What do I tell her? The truth, that her husband died the way he lived, protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. That's not going to make it hurt less. Nothing will, but it'll give her something to hold on to. Shepard made the call. Carmen Morrison answered on the second ring. She already knew something was wrong. Wives of bikers develop a sixth sense for phone calls that come at the wrong hour. Jake? Carmen, I'm sorry. Silence, the kind that fills the space where a scream should be. How? One word, barely a whisper. He held a gate, alone, bought time for 24 children to escape. He was the bravest man I've ever known, Carmen. He didn't hesitate. He never did. That was his problem. He never thought about himself. Her voice cracked, but didn't break. Were the children saved? All of them. Then don't you dare apologize for my husband's choice. He made it. He'd make it again, and I'd hate him for it and love him for it, the same way I've loved and hated every choice he's made for 40 years. Carmen. Bring him home, Jake. When they let you, bring my husband home. I will. The line went dead. Shepard pressed the phone against his forehead and breathed. One breath, two, three. Then he put the phone away and stood up, because there were still things to do, and grief would have to wait. By noon, the church had transformed into a command center. Reyes had set up a mobile operations post in Father Miguel's parish hall. 24 children had been examined by a medical team flown in from Jackson. 3 needed hospitalization. Miguel, the 7-year-old with the badly healed leg, was airlifted to a children's hospital in Memphis. The rest were stable. Traumatized, malnourished, haunted, but alive. Families were being contacted. For some, it had been years. Parents who'd been told their children were in state facilities, who'd called and been given runarounds, who'd filed missing persons reports that went nowhere because the system investigating the disappearances was the same system causing them. The first reunion happened at 2 p.m. A father named James Okafor drove 4 hours from Birmingham after getting the call. His daughter Amara had been missing for 3 years. She was 11 when she was taken. She was 14 now. James came through the church doors running. Amara stood at the end of the nave. She was thin. Her eyes were old. But when she saw her father, something inside her unlocked. Daddy? James Okafor dropped to his knees and his daughter crashed into him. The sound he made wasn't words. It was something older than language. A father's grief and joy colliding so violently that his body couldn't contain it. Emma watched from her pew. She wasn't jealous. She was something worse. She was witnessing what she would never have. Claire was dead. Emma's biological parents had relinquished custody when she was 2. There was no one coming for her. No father who would drop to his knees and make that sound. Mama Bear saw it happening, the slow withdrawal, the light dimming in Emma's eyes as reunion after reunion played out around her. Children running to parents, parents sobbing with relief, families made whole again. "Emma, look at me." Emma looked. "I know what you're thinking." You don't. You're thinking nobody's coming for you. You're watching those families and you're thinking, you're the one kid in this church who doesn't have someone racing to get here. Emma's lip trembled. She bit it. Hard. The way she'd bitten her hand to keep from screaming when Claire was shot. Miss Claire was my someone, and she's gone. She's gone, that's true, and I can't fix that. Nobody can fix that. Mama Bear took Emma's face in both hands. "But I'm here. I've been here since the diner. I carried you through that tunnel. I held you while you slept. And I'm not going anywhere. Everybody goes somewhere. Not me, not this time." Counselor approached carefully. He'd been on the phone for 3 hours straight, coordinating with Reyes's legal team, filing emergency motions, building the case that would eventually fill 7,000 pages of federal indictments. "Shepard, Reyes needs Emma's formal statement, videotaped, child advocate present. She wants to do it today while the memories are fresh. She's 5 years old. She's been through hell." "I know, but Hale's lawyers are already filing motions to suppress the USB evidence. They're claiming chain of custody violations. If Emma's testimony corroborates the digital evidence independently, they can't suppress both." Shepard looked at Emma. "It's your choice, kid. Nobody's making you." Emma stood up. She was so small, barely taller than the pew back. Her nightgown was filthy. Her feet were bandaged. Her hair was a tangled mess. But she stood like she was made of something unbreakable. "I'll talk. Miss Claire wanted me to talk. She said silence is what the bad men need. She said if you talk, you take their power away." The interview room was Father Miguel's office, a camera on a tripod, a child psychologist named Dr. Karen Mitchell, who'd been flown in from Jackson specifically for this. Mama Bear sat beside Emma. Reyes watched through a window. Dr. Mitchell spoke gently. "Emma, can you tell me what happened last night? In your own words. Take your time." Emma took a breath. She folded her hands in her lap the way Claire had taught her to do when she was being serious. "Miss Claire put me under the kitchen floor. She had a little door there. She said, 'Stay quiet no matter what.' So I stayed quiet." Emma's hands squeezed together. "I heard the men come in. I heard them yelling at Miss Claire. They wanted her papers, the ones on her computer. She said no. She said she was going to tell." "Tell who?" "The FBI. The real ones, not the fake one." "What happened next?" "The loud noise, the bang, then Miss Claire fell down. I saw through the cracks in the floor. I saw her face. Her eyes were open, but she wasn't looking at anything." Dr. Mitchell's pen stopped moving. She took a breath, continued. "What did you do after that?" "I waited. The men went upstairs. I crawled out and got the bag. Miss Claire showed me the bag. She made me practice getting it. Every week we practiced. She said if the bad men ever came, I get the bag and I run." "And you ran." "I ran. Through the fields, through the trees. My feet hurt, but I didn't stop. Miss Claire said don't stop." Emma described the rest. The truck that rolled down the hill, walking in the dark, the rest stop, the bloody handprint on the glass, Shepard's face through the door, Mama Bear wrapping her in leather. Every detail precise, every detail delivered in the flat, careful voice of a child who understood that her words had power and was using that power deliberately. When she finished, Dr. Mitchell turned off the camera. She looked at Mama Bear, then at Reyes through the window. Her eyes were wet. "In 20 years of forensic psychology," Mitchell said quietly, "I have never interviewed a witness this composed, this detailed or this brave. She's 5 years old, and she just delivered testimony that would convict in any courtroom in this country. Reyes entered the room. She crouched in front of Emma one more time. Emma, your testimony is going to help a lot of people. It's going to put the bad men in prison for a very long time. Good. They should be in prison. They shouldn't be in houses where kids live. I agree. Agent Reyes? Yes? What's going to happen to me? After the trial, where do I go? Reyes looked at Mama Bear. The question had been hanging over everyone all day. A child without family. A system that had failed her catastrophically. The usual answer, back to foster care, was unthinkable. We're working on that, Reyes said carefully. Mama Bear said she's not going anywhere. Is that true, Ms. Jensen? Mama Bear met the agent's gaze without flinching. I've been thinking about it all day. I want to petition for guardianship. You're a member of the Hells Angels. I'm a former Army combat nurse. I'm a certified EMT. I own a home. I have savings. I have a clean record. I'm also a member of a motorcycle club that just rescued 24 children from a trafficking compound. If the court wants to hold my patches against me, they can try. It'll be a fight. I've been fighting since I was 18. One more won't kill me. Emma looked up at Mama Bear. You want to keep me? I want to give you a home, a real one, with pancakes and bedtime stories and someone who never leaves. Miss Claire made pancakes. I know. I'll learn to make them the way she did. With faces? With faces. Emma's lower lip shook. The last wall, the one she'd built the same way Shepard had built his, the one that kept her moving and breathing and functioning, crumbled. She climbed into Mama Bear's lap and wrapped her arms around her neck and held on with everything she had. Don't let them take me, she whispered. The same words she'd mouthed through the diner window. The same desperate plea. But different now. Not a plea to strangers, a plea to family. Never, Mama Bear whispered back. Never, ever, ever. That evening, Shepard stood outside the church smoking a cigarette he'd bummed from Ridge. He didn't usually smoke, but tonight wasn't usual. Preacher was dead. 24 children were sleeping on church pews. A 5-year-old girl had adopted his entire motorcycle club as family. And the lieutenant governor of Mississippi was about to be arrested for running a child trafficking empire. His phone rang. Reyes. Beaumont's been arrested. Federal marshals picked him up at his office 30 minutes ago. His chief of staff is cooperating. We've got enough for a RICO case. How many total arrests? So far, 18, including 3 state senators. We're executing warrants in 4 states. Shepard, this is the largest child trafficking prosecution in American history, and it started with a USB drive in a 5-year-old's backpack. It started with Claire Dawson. She did the work. She paid the price. I know, and I intend to make sure her name is on every document, every press release, every piece of legislation that comes out of this case. Good. One more thing. Hale's financial records revealed something we didn't expect. He's been making quarterly payments to an offshore account linked to a charitable foundation. The foundation is called Bright Futures. It's a children's charity. Of course it is. The board of directors includes the governor's wife, 2 media executives, and a retired 4-star general. We're still unraveling it, but Shepard, this network may be twice the size we thought. Shepard dropped his cigarette, crushed it under his boot. Then you'd better get more agents. Already requested. Washington is mobilizing. This is going national. He hung up, looked at the sky. Stars were coming out. Mississippi sky, wide and ancient, and indifferent to the horrors that happened beneath it. Mama Bear appeared beside him. Emma's asleep, finally. Took an hour. She kept waking up, checking that I was still there. She will for a while. I know. Mama Bear leaned against the church wall. I called a lawyer, family attorney in Jackson. She says guardianship is possible, but it'll take months. Background checks, home studies, psychological evaluations. And the state will fight it because placing a traumatized child with a biker is unconventional. Unconventional, Shepard almost laughed. A conventional system trafficked 63 children, but we're the unconventional ones. That's what I told the lawyer. She said that's exactly the argument we'll make in court. Will it work? She said with this case, with this publicity, with 24 rescued children and a dead foster mother who's about to become a national hero? Probably. She said no judge in America wants to be the one who takes Emma away from the people who saved her. Probably isn't definitely. Nothing ever is. Inside the church, Emma slept with her head on the backpack. Even in sleep, even in safety, she held on to Claire's evidence. The thing that had carried her through the worst night of her life. The thing that proved the truth. She dreamed about Claire, not the blood, not the gunshot. Claire making pancakes with faces on them. Claire reading stories at bedtime. Claire saying, "You're brave, Emma, the bravest girl I know." She dreamed about motorcycles and leather vests and a gray-bearded man who smelled like engine oil and kept his promises. She dreamed about a woman with brown hair and kind, fierce eyes who whispered, "Never," like it was a sacred vow. And somewhere between the nightmares and the grace, Emma Whitfield found something she'd been looking for through 5 foster homes and 40 miles of darkness and a night that tested every soul it touched. She found home. Not a place, not an address, a feeling. The feeling of arms that don't let go, of voices that don't lie, of people who choose you not because the state assigns you, but because they looked through a diner window at 3:12 in the morning and decided your life was worth more than their safety. That's home. That's what Claire died to give her. That's what Preacher died to protect. And that's what no court, no system, no corrupt sheriff or trafficker or politician could ever take away. Because Emma Whitfield had the Hells Angels, and the Hells Angels didn't let go. The guardianship hearing took 6 weeks to schedule. 6 weeks of Emma waking up in Mama Bear's guest bedroom, checking that the woman was still in the house, still breathing, still real. 6 weeks of therapy with Dr. Mitchell twice a week. 6 weeks of nightmares that came less often, but hit just as hard. Emma started kindergarten 3 weeks after the church. Mama Bear drove her every morning. Shepard followed on his bike. The first day, Emma stood at the school entrance and wouldn't move. "What if someone comes?" she whispered. "Then Shepard is right there in the parking lot, and I'm picking you up at 2:30, and nobody is getting through that door who isn't supposed to. Promise? Promise." Emma walked inside. She didn't look back, but Mama Bear saw her hands shaking. The trial preparations consumed everything. Reyes's team had expanded to 40 agents across 4 states. The USB drive Claire had assembled contained 4,700 files. Financial records, text messages, photographs, transfer documents, and audio recordings Claire had made secretly during meetings with Judge Kincaid and Sheriff Langston. She'd worn a wire for 3 months before they killed her. 3 months of walking into rooms with predators and smiling while a recorder captured every word. She knew they'd kill her, Reyes told Shepard during one of their coordination meetings. The recordings prove it. She has a file dated 2 weeks before her murder. Audio journal. She says, "If you're listening to this, I'm probably dead, but the evidence is real. The children are real, and someone has to finish this." She left it all for Emma. She left it for whoever found it. Emma was the delivery system. Claire couldn't trust anyone in the system, so she trusted a 5-year-old girl. And that 5-year-old delivered. The federal grand jury convened in Jackson. 23 defendants. The indictment ran 347 pages. Shepard read every one. Each page was a different kind of horror. Children sold for prices ranging from $40,000 to $120,000. Buyers from 6 states, a waiting list. repeat customers who returned children and requested new ones like they were ordering from a catalog. Counselor handled the Hells Angels' legal exposure. Reyes kept her word. No weapons charges, no trespassing charges, no assault charges. The official report described the compound raid as a civilian rescue operation conducted in coordination with FBI assets. It was a generous interpretation of events, but nobody in the Justice Department wanted to prosecute the people who'd rescued 24 children while the FBI's own agent was helping the traffickers. Cody pleaded guilty to conspiracy charges. 3 years with credit for cooperation. Tyler testified at his brother's sentencing hearing. "My brother made a deal with the devil to keep me alive," Tyler told the judge. "I'm not going to stand here and pretend that was the right thing to do. But I'm alive because of it. 24 kids are free because he told the truth when it mattered. That has to count for something." The judge gave Cody 18 months. Tyler was placed in Cody's mother's custody in Biloxi, with weekly therapy sessions and a federal victims advocate assigned to his case. The guardianship hearing arrived on a Tuesday. Mama Bear wore the only suit she owned. Shepard wore a collared shirt and left his vest in the truck. They looked like what they were, uncomfortable people in uncomfortable clothes, doing an uncomfortable thing because a child needed them. Judge Patricia Holloway, no relation to anyone in the case, reviewed the petition with visible skepticism. "Ms. Jensen, your background check is clean. Your military service is commendable. Your financial situation is stable. But you are a member of an outlaw motorcycle club." "The Hells Angels are a registered motorcycle club," counselor corrected from the petitioner's table, "not a criminal organization." "The distinction is noted, Mr. Brennan. Ms. Jensen, can you explain to this court why a motorcycle club is an appropriate environment for a traumatized 5-year-old child?" Mama Bear stood. "Your Honor, the foster care system placed Emma with Claire Dawson. Claire was murdered by the system's own officers for trying to protect children. The judge who signed Emma's placement paperwork is currently facing 63 counts of child trafficking. The sheriff who was supposed to ensure Emma's safety killed her foster mother. The FBI agent assigned to the case was selling information to the traffickers." She paused. Let it land. "The system failed Emma at every level. The Hells Angels didn't. When Emma pressed her hand against that window, we didn't call the authorities. We didn't file a report. We stood between her and the men trying to kill her. We rode 60 miles to a trafficking compound and brought 24 children home. We lost a brother doing it, Dan Morrison. He was 63 years old, and he died holding a gate so children could escape." "Ms. Jensen, I'm not finished, Your Honor." Mama Bear's voice was steady, but her eyes burned. "I'm a combat nurse. I served 2 tours in Iraq. I've treated soldiers under fire. I've held dying men and told them they'd be okay. I know what trauma looks like, and I know how to care for someone who's living through it. I also know what it feels like to lose a child. My daughter Sarah was killed by a drunk driver 7 years ago. She was 6. The courtroom went quiet. "I'm not asking for this because I want to replace Sarah. I'm asking because Emma needs someone who will never leave. Someone who understands that healing takes years, not months. Someone who will make pancakes with faces on them because that's what Claire did, and continuity matters to a child who's lost everything." Judge Holloway looked at Emma. "Emma, do you understand what's happening today?" Emma stood on the chair so the judge could see her. "You're deciding if I get to stay with Mama Bear." "That's right. Can you tell me why you want to stay with her?" "Because she didn't let them take me. She came through a bathroom window for me. She carried me through a tunnel. She held me when I had nightmares. She's the only person since Miss Claire who stayed." "What if it doesn't work out?" "Then I'll tell her. Because she listens. She asks me what I think. She asks me what I need. Nobody ever asked me that before. Not in any foster home. Not ever." Judge Holloway removed her glasses, cleaned them, put them back on. A delay tactic that gave her time to compose herself. Guardianship is granted. Emma Whitfield is placed in the custody of Maria Jensen, with Jake Callahan as secondary guardian. This court will review the arrangement in 6 months. Emma looked at Mama Bear. Mama Bear looked at Emma. Then the child launched herself off the chair and into Mama Bear's arms with a force that nearly knocked them both to the ground. I get to stay? You get to stay. Forever? Forever. The trial lasted 8 weeks. Emma testified via video. Dr. Mitchell sat beside her. Mama Bear held her hand off camera. Emma's testimony was 47 minutes long. She described everything in the careful, precise language of a child who understood that words had consequences and was choosing each one deliberately. When the defense attorney asked if her memories might be confused due to trauma, Emma looked directly at the camera. I remember everything. I remember Miss Clare's face when she told me to hide. I remember Deputy Stokes's boots on the floor above me. I remember the sound the gun made. I remember running. I remember the window. I remember the motorcycles. I don't want to remember, but I do. Guilty. All counts. All defendants. Langston, life without parole. Stokes, life without parole. Judge Kincaid, 50 years. Agent Preston, 25 years. Vincent Hale, 4 consecutive life sentences. Lieutenant Governor Beaumont, life without parole plus 200 years. The judge called it the harshest sentence she'd ever imposed and said it wasn't harsh enough. 47 children recovered across 4 states, 91 arrests, 18 facilities shut down, 3 federal laws proposed. 1, Emma's Law, passed the Mississippi State Legislature unanimously. Mandatory independent oversight of all foster placements. Whistleblower protections for social workers. Criminal penalties for officials who falsify custody documents. The Hells Angels opened Clare's house 6 months after the trial. A converted property outside Oxford, Mississippi. 12 rooms, 24-hour security, professional trauma counselors. A safe place for survivors to heal. Shepherd paid for the renovation with money raised at a charity ride that drew 3,000 bikers from 26 states. Emma visited twice a week. She couldn't lead support groups. She was 6, but she drew pictures for the children who came through. Suns and flowers and motorcycles and girls holding hands. She wrote their names in her kindergarten handwriting. She sat with the ones who wouldn't talk, the ones who'd forgotten how to trust, and she didn't say anything. She just sat. Because sometimes presence is the only language that translates. 1 year after the diner window, Emma stood beside Mama Bear at the memorial wall inside the Hells Angels clubhouse. Dan Preacher Morrison's photo hung at the center. His wife Carmen had chosen the inscription beneath it. He never thought about himself. That was his problem. That was also his grace. Emma placed a drawing under the photo, a motorcycle with angel wings, the same drawing she'd made at the church. Mama Bear? Yeah, baby. Do you think Miss Clare and Preacher know each other now? In heaven? I think they do. I think Miss Clare would like him. He sounds nice. He was. He made terrible coffee, though. Emma laughed. A real laugh. The kind that starts in the belly and surprises you with its own existence. Mama Bear heard it and pressed her hand to her mouth because that laugh was a sound of healing. Not completion, not the end of pain, but the beginning of something growing in the space where the pain used to live. That evening, Emma sat on Mama Bear's porch eating ice cream. Her feet dangled off the chair because she was still too small to reach the ground. Shepherd was next door cleaning his bike. Carmen Morrison sat in the rocker reading a book Preacher had loved. Fireflies drifted across the yard like tiny, wandering stars. Mama Bear? Yeah? Do you think Miss Clare can see us? I think she can. Good. I want her to see that I'm okay. I want her to see that I found people who don't let go. Mama Bear pulled her close, kissed the top of her head, held her in the silence of a Mississippi evening while the fireflies blinked and the world turned, and somewhere, In every state in the country, laws were changing because a 5-year-old girl pressed her bloody hand against a window and refused to disappear. Because sometimes the most dangerous-looking people are the ones who fight hardest for innocence. Sometimes a child's handprint on glass can bring down governors and senators and men who thought they were untouchable. Sometimes the system breaks so completely that the only people left to fix it are the ones society taught you to fear. 47 children recovered, 91 convictions, 1 law changed. One little girl who ran 40 miles barefoot through the Mississippi dark because a dead woman told her to be brave. And a chapter of the Hells Angels who saw a face through a diner window at 3:12 in the morning and decided that protecting her was worth everything they had and everything they were. That's not just a story, that's a promise. That's a legacy. And it starts with 3 words mouthed through bloody glass by a 5-year-old girl who refused to let fear win. Don't let them take me. They didn't. They never will. And that's the difference between a world that fails its children and a world that fights for them. The difference is ordinary people who decide, in one irreversible moment, that silence is no longer an option, that badges don't equal trust, that leather vests and loud engines and scarred hands can carry more love than the entire broken system that was supposed to protect innocence, but sold it instead. Claire Dawson knew that. She died for it. Emma Whitfield carried it 40 miles in a backpack, and the Hells Angels proved it with blood and sacrifice and the unshakable refusal to let a child face the darkness alone. That is the truth. And the truth, as a brave 5-year-old girl will tell you, is the most dangerous weapon there is.